Greetings YouTube and welcome to the Blue Corner. As you can tell, we are indeed doing a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile that is going to be on Rokket Dragon Link. This was one of the two decks I was considering taking to my regionals this upcoming weekend, but that got cancelled because of, well, take a wild guess. But since I happened to borrow the cards off of one of my friends and I'll be giving them back right away, I figure I might as well shoot the profile while I still have them on me and talk about this deck because it's a pretty fun deck to play and it's remarkably consistent with what it does too. Unlike the Danger Thunder Dragon Guard Dragon deck, which was a bit more RNG in how well its hands panned out and reliant on its star user draws, Rokket Dragon Link is able to go off with, I think, what, 85% consistency at that? Like, I can count the number of bricks I've had on my hand in the last 2 weeks in regards to this deck, because it is surprisingly capable of playing out some really weird looking hands. You have your good combo and you have your subpar combo, but the subpar combo isn't awful. It's Borreload Savage Dragon with an Unchained Abomination, and that's pretty decent. Especially since this deck has the option of running defensive cards, because yes, I'll say it right now, it's Sheng Ping's list with some minor changes, because that's basically what the good build of this deck is his build with changes. And yeah, you have the option of having defensive things like Cosmic Cyclone, Ash Blossom, and Droll Lockbird if you have spirals in your area, or Infinite Permanence, or you can play more extenders like I'm doing in this build. This is the Instant Fusion take, and this deck will benefit from upcoming stuff. Dual Overload gives you Needle Fiber and Union Carrier, which I'm sure this deck will find some way to fit in, because the aforementioned Savage Dragon Abomination with the Buster Blader lock seems pretty strong, and then you have the Master Row Vision coming up. This deck doesn't really change drastically because of it, because it is a link strategy, but having the ability to put Borreload Savage Dragon in a non-link zone, and being able to use Instant Fusion to greater effect with Millennium Eyes Restrict is actually pretty good. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about this, so let's just get right into this. So as I said before, it's your bog standard list, so it uses the same cards as usual. You've got your Rokket package of 3 Tracer, 2 Magna, 2 Silver, 1 Recharger, and 2 Absorouter. So for people who don't know what Rockets do, which isn't surprising, up until now it's been a bad anime archetype, and truth be told, you aren't playing this deck the way that the Rokket archetype was designed to be played. They're just being used to help you Dragon Link easier. But in any case, so Rockets have effects that allow you to destroy themselves, particularly these two, if they're targeted by a Link Monster's effect, and during the end phase, if they're killed by battle or by card effect, you can float into another Rokket out of your deck. It just has to be a different name. But that's only for Magna and Silver. The rest of them play differently, which is why they're good. So, Absorouter, if you control a Rokket, specials itself from the hand, and if it's sent to the graveyard, you can add a Rokket monster from your deck to your hand. Hard once per turn on both effects. Recharger, if it's in your hand when a dark monster from the extra deck that you control is destroyed by a card effect, you can discard it, target that monster, and special summon a different named dark monster from your graveyard, which is really cool because you can bring back things such as Bright Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, or your Link 4 Unchained Abomination. Recharger allows you, not Recharger, Tracer allows you to target any face-up card you control during either player's turn, except itself, destroy it, and special summon a Rokket monster from your deck except itself, but you're locked into dark special summons from the extra deck for the rest of his turn and use that effect. So ideally, you want to use this after you've set up your non-dark Link monsters, such as your Romulus or your Spheres, and then use this to pop things like your field spells, or, I don't know, World Legacy Guard Dragon. The fact it's chainable too means if your opponent tries to, like, target your dude for an effect, you can just pop it, get your dude out, and go from there. It triggers Abomination on your opponent's turn. It's a tuner monster, so just your, like, bare bones normal summon combo of... No. Is that, like, just normal summoning it means you can set up a Savage Dragon with 1 negation, which is actually pretty neat. And then as far as these two go, so Magna Rokket, if it's targeted by Link Monster's effect, you can kill itself to send 1 monster opponent controls to the graveyard, so it's a Dingrisu, but for monsters, which is great. Gets around destruction immune monsters, or targeting immune monsters too, so... And then Silver Rokket Dragon can kill itself to take a look at a card from your opponent's extra deck and banish it, which is really cool for outing Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Therefore, your opponent can't Super Poly your board off as easily. Dolls obviously still can, because they can just summon a Shadow and make Winda, but even still, getting rid of Starving Venom or Thousand Eyes if your opponent's playing an Instant Fusion package is going to be pretty cool. And then that's it for these guys. You play a decent amount of them so that you can see them and some of them off of your Boot Sector launch. Then for other Dragon assorted stuff, so one extender in the form of Destrudo It's not a fantastic card, and you'll side it out pretty often, but in a pinch, it will put another dragon on the board, which helps you make your Link monsters. Then we have our Seyfert package, so 3 Seyferts, plus the black dragon he's going to be searching, and the white dragon that black dragon will be searching. So Seyfert, you can send it, you can send any number of dragons from your hand or field to the graveyard to add a dragon from your deck to your hand whose total level is equal to that of the monster sent this way. So more often than not, he'll send himself off to add black dragon, and you summon black dragon, and you can go from there. You can also discard, say, a Phantasme that you might not need and add an Absolrouter Dragon, or vice versa. And doing so would trigger the Absolrouter Dragon if you discard it to add Phantasme. You can discard Absolrouter to add Tempest in some builds. You can discard a random level 8 to add Levianeer. And he also has the unique effect of, if it's in the graveyard, you can banish it to target one level 8 Light or Dark Dragon monster and add it back to your hand, such as Levianeer or your Savage Dragon. And that leads to some potential changes in your combo play, depending on what you've opened with. Opening Seyfert itself is your subpar combo. It allows you to make the Romulus and go from there. You've also got another one-card combo in the form of Black Metal Dragon. When, if it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one Red Eyes card from your deck to your hand, which would be Darkness Metal Dragon. In Darkness Metal Dragon, we all know what he does. You can also equip this thing to Darkness Metal if that ever comes up, to make him over 3,000 attack, which is relevant so that it doesn't get killed by Scarlight. But yeah, your combo will often involve pulling this out of the deck and linking it off so you can search Red Med and then just summon it out. It's a much more less neggy way to play out your combo as opposed to just strictly summoning Red Med from the deck. It allows you to make some less awkward Guard Dragon plays too. Then you have, speaking of stuff to be able to be summoned, so your Spheres will most likely summon your Brotar, who will then fetch you your Levianeer, or your Phantasme, depending on when your opponent triggers the Spheres. Spheres will also sometimes summon Absolrouter Dragon or Seyfert if you happen to have the Brotar already in circulation. And Brotar can also be used to target a token given to you by your opponent's Nibiru to search out your own Nibiru post-siding, which is really cool when you're up against opposing combo decks that brought in Nibiru on you. Now they have to try and play out their turn and avoid your Nibiru. This deck is capable of playing through Nibiru, I just don't know the specific combo to do that just yet. Then, as far as the spells that this deck needs to play, you've got your 3 copies of Quick Launch, your 2 copies of Boot Sector as far as the Rokket stuff goes. So Quick Launch summons a Rokket out of your deck in defense position, and it can't attack, and it's killed at the end of turn. However, it's a quick play, and it's not a once per turn, so it's an E-Telly for Rockets. Then Boot Sector Launch is a field spell that gives all Rockets 300 attack and defense, which is actually kind of useful here, as it allows Silver Rocket Dragon to tie with Winda, which is relevant in the Doll matchup. Also, you can use one of its 2 effects, the first one being you summon 2 Rockets with different names from your hand in defense position, or if your opponent happens to have more monsters than you do, you can special summon different named Rockets from your graveyard in defense position up to the difference. So if they have 2 monsters to your 1, you summon 1 back. It's actually pretty good for turn 2 onwards, because if your opponent breaks your board, you make another Striker Dragon, fetch this, and then use its effect to bring back more dudes, and then you just go from there. But your main combo is going to be using Striker Dragon to fetch one of these, and then using this to summon the Rocket Tracer out of your hand, and then you blow it up for Tracer, summon your Silver Rocket or Magna Rocket or Recharge it, bring what else you have in your hand, and you go from there. Then, additional stuff, we've got 2 copies of World Legacy Guard Dragon. On activation, you revive a level 4 Lore Dragon in the graveyard. Also, once per turn, you can move 1 Dragon monster on the field around, on your side of the field, to a different spot in the main monster zone, which is useful for some Guard Dragon plays. Then, for the stuff that sends to graveyard, you've got the 1 Ravine, because it's searchable, Foolish Burial, because it's Foolish Burial, and the 1 Dragon Shrine, because multiples of this brick, and they're only there to put Router in the graveyard to fetch the Rocket Tracer, so. And sometimes other cards too. And then that is it for the required cards for this deck to want to play. Then you've got your options. So, like I said, this deck usually runs anywhere between 9 or more or less defensive cards, depending on what you want to do. So, you've got your Ash Blossoms, as doing your combo and having an Ash Blossom to back it up is pretty good. Cosmic Cyclone is also something that sees plays in almost every list, because you do not want to lose to Mystic Mine, which many going second decks are playing. They just slap the mine down, stun your board, and then they get rid of the mine and they kill you. Looking at you, dinosaurs. And then other builds are playing things like Crow, or Impermanence, or Drone Lockbird. Right now I'm trying out Instant Fusion in here. I got this idea from another list that got a regional top, and I like what it does. As Darkfire Dragon, is something that you can use to make a guard dragon or striker dragon, and in the future you can use Millennium Eyes to bait out hand traps, or rather just to answer hand traps. And that's it for the deck. So on to the extra deck. We've got 3 copies of Striker Dragon. There is some debate on how many you need. People will say 3 is excessive. I thought that at first until I started playing with the deck, but the 3rd Striker Dragon really does put in work, because your main combo will use 2 of them, and then on the next turn when it comes back to you, provided you just have any normal summonable dragon, you make the 3rd one, add that boot sector, and as I said before, you're going to use that boot sector to bring back more rockets from your graveyard. Or you can also have him kill himself, because first off, on Link Summon, you add a boot sector launch from your deck to your hand, and then secondly, once per turn, you can target 1 card, monster you control, and 1 rocket in your graveyard. You destroy that card, and if you do, you add that rocket back, and this would trigger the effect of Rocket Recharger. Therefore, you discard that Recharger and target a different dark monster in your graveyard, like, oh, I don't know, Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, who then brings back another dude. So therefore, your Striker Dragon ends up being 2 monsters for the cost of just summoning 1 level 4 Lord Dragon onto the board. Yeah, that's why this card is pretty, I feel, needed at 3. Then you have LP and Pisty. How this card hasn't been banned yet, I don't know. It's going to happen sooner or later, though. Then you've got your Link 2 Spheres. Romulus, Delindrus, and Quadboral are all ones that you use depending on where you are. Romulus comes up if your hand isn't the greatest, and you need to use that Ravine to get the router off so that you can add the Tracer and go from there. But more often than not, you're going to be using these 3 in your combo. Spheres and Romulus we know about. Delindrus and Quadboral, not as much, because again, they're rocket cards, and who the hell actually pays attention to rockets? So Delindrus' effect is it takes 2 dark dragons to make, and if a rocket monster is special summoned to your side of the field while it's in the graveyard, you special summon it back, but it banishes itself and leaves the field, and that's all you really care about as far as this card. Quadboral allows you to, once per turn, discard a card, then target 1 monster in the field and kill it. If it's a Link monster, you can special summon different named rockets from your graveyard up to that monster's Link rating, but if you do so, you cannot special summon Link 2 or lower monsters for the rest of the turn from your extra deck, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, from the extra deck. So, like, you can kill itself, bring back 2, and if Red Med's already in play, then you can bring this guy back 2 for whatever reason. But this helps you set up your big play of being able to make Abomination and Savage Dragon, as he's technically a soul charge, depending on what you're able to pop. More often than not, it will be a Link 2 or Link 3. Then the last in Link 2 is Beat Cop in the World. This only comes up for emergencies, as if your opponent Nibiru's you, you need to be able to get that token and another monster off the board. Then this is the card to make, as it's the only Dark Link 2 with good arrows that you can make with a token, such as the one that they gave you with Nibiru. And that's pretty much it for the Link 2s. There's only 1 Link 3 this deck plays right now, which is Triple Burst Dragon. It exists solely to get popped by a Quadboral Dragon, and then sometimes you'll bring it back and use the negation effect. Then for the Link 4s, your 1 boss monster is Abomination. Then you've got Borrelode Sword Dragon to kill your opponent off. You've got Borrelode Savage Dragon as your also ending boss monster. And I've got my Instant Fusion target here. Other builds, if they don't play Instant Fusion, will often play Scarlet Dragon Archfiend, or they'll play the Tenye Synchro, which if it beats your opponent's monster over in battle, it gains its attack and can attack another monster. Also, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can banish it. It doesn't negate it, though. So just bear that in mind. But basically, Dark Fire Dragon or another dark monster that you can make with your Rocket Tracer in a level 4 would be recommended in here. Now, as far as the Abomination goes, because again, this is a card that people will look at once, twice, 3 times to go, wait a minute, it does what? So, Abomination takes 2+ monsters, including a Link monster, and its effects are, if a card on the field is destroyed by an effect except by his own, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. If another monster is killed in battle, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. During end phase, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. So he gets to pop 3 things. The first one is if you are able to pop a card by another effect, such as Rocket Tracer, that will trigger him. Then, if you beat over a card in battle, he'll pop a card, which is great. And then finally, at the end phase, he'll try and pop a card if you want to. And because he targets to destroy, this triggers the effects of your rocket monsters. Your best combo will let you end the board with Savage Dragon, Abomination, Spheres, and you'll happen to have a rocket in play, such as Silver Rocket Dragon. You can target this with Abomination, he'll self-destruct, you eat a card of your opponent's extra deck, and you just summon a Tracer. Then on your opponent's turn, you use that Tracer to pop something, this will trigger him, and then you can either pop your opponent's card, or you can pop the Magna Rocket Dragon you summon on your deck in order to out your opponent's monster, and then during the end of the turn, you pop another card on the field. Twin Twisters will also trigger this if you happen to be siding that in, and yeah, like, Abomination is pretty good at breaking up a board, and because of the dark, you can bring it back with the effect of Rocket Recharger if that comes up. And that's pretty much it for the deck in a nutshell. So that's the deck, and overall, like, it's a really good deck. Unfortunately, it's also not a cheap deck anymore, because some of the cards in here have become a bit on the pricey side. Savage Dragon hasn't been reprinted despite it now being a year now, because they didn't put Savage Strike in the tins for, well, various reasons. And Savage Dragon is obviously something that would benefit from the reprint. Abomination is going up a bit, but it's really Striker Dragon that's become obnoxiously pricey, because you need, like I said, 2 to 3 of them, and that pretty much amounts to the same price as a Savage Dragon. And then you've also got the issue of Seyfried. He got short printed in Chaos Impact, therefore he is also unreasonably expensive. And I'm trying to think what else in here is becoming expensive. Like, a lot of the other cards in this deck, though, are... Oh, okay, there's also World Legacy Guard Dragon. You'll need 2 to 3 of these. Phantasme is getting reprinted, thankfully. Chaos Levianeer is also getting reprinted. So, like, a lot of the other cards in this deck, though, aren't pricey, which is cool. It's just, yeah, unfortunately, it's, yeah, these two guys, these guys, and these guys, which is kind of ripping. Then, like, there's also, like, the side deck. If you can, this deck will play Lightning Storm on the side, as being able to blow out your opponent's back row, which is something this deck does not like to deal with. Also, evenly matched, you'll need that. Yeah, but that's just Yu-Gi-Oh! Unfortunately. It will get a little bit better thanks to Dual Overload being such a money set, and Impermanence getting reprinted there, so that's great for people, but we definitely need another reprint of Evenly, and the sooner Savage Dragon and the Chaos Impact stuff gets reprinted, the better, obviously. And that's all I can really say here, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you're playing dragons, comment down below what you're doing with them. There are many ways, I think, this deck can be played. There's obviously like the 30 cards that I've shown you guys, and you've got your 9 or 10 cards of innovation to go with. And like, this is by no means a finalized build. I like the idea I saw from the Disaster variant of this that Richard Clark caught second place at his OTS with. Mirage Dragon in the side to block evenly matched through the effect of spheres. That is genius, and I love it. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Also, this deck is a target on the ban list, I feel, as you've got LP and Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon as potential targets. I'm really hoping it's not Red Med, as someone who's played with that card for over 10 years now. He's been in quite a number of my favorite decks, and seeing him get banned would just make me sad. I'd understand it, but I wouldn't be happy about it. And that's all I got to say for this again, so hope you guys enjoy this, and until next time, this is Blue Starter 9, jacking out.